Hey everybody, are we on? Lisa, you're texting me. Let me know if you see me now.
Live now. Yeah.
All right, hey everybody, happy Thursday. Miracles with a twist. I miss you all. We are twisting here in Tamarack in my home chapel, and I look forward to the day when we can all be together again. So we'll start today, as we always do, by dedicating our hearts, our minds, our fears, our egos, our issues, anything that is a block to our spiritual progress. We're going to offer it up to Spirit by saying, here's my heart. And the Course tells us that first thing in the morning we offer our heart to God by saying, here I am, lead me through this day. And so our song of dedication is, here's my heart, Lord. And last week we found out that when I held up the video, it was a mirror effect and you couldn't read the words. So this week I made the lyrics, but I also made a little picture of all of us together. So there's me beaming my heart out to you, and there's all of you and all your hearts, full of hearts. There's Ernesto, and I'm going to hold this up while we sing together our song of dedication. Here's my heart, Lord. I know that wherever you are, you're singing along with me. I can feel you. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, here's my life. This is a dedication, our dedication to Spirit and to one another and to our spiritual path.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. 'Cause I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free. You are strong, you are sure, you are light, you endure, you are good, always true. You are light, breaking through.
Giving thanks for this opportunity to be together tonight. Put your hand on your heart. Press your hand against your heart so you feel your heartbeat. Feeling the love of spirit moving through you. Feeling gratitude for this opportunity to be together, to send our love out to one another. Breathing deeply. Blessing the space where you are. Blessing the space between us. Feeling our willingness to release our fears, our pains, our judgments, even if it's just for a moment.
I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure.
Purifying our minds of our fears.
I can breathe, I am healed, I am free, 'cause you are strong.
Giving thanks and praise to Spirit for this day, for our breath, for our heartbeats. You are more than enough. You are love. Right where you are, raise your voices, let your prayers be sung out. There's everybody singing. Let me hear your voice. Raise your voices. Here's my heart, Lord. Everybody singing. Let me know you're singing. I sing so loud that it might shake up the neighbors wondering what's going on in your house. All right, let's take a moment to just spend some time in silence together, to be grateful for this evening, for this time, and to send out our prayers to our community, to the world, to the whole world, where we're sharing this global time of being separate and yet together in one cause. So let us spend a moment sending our light and our love out to those darkened places, to be a part of the light that will assist in transforming all the pain, all the fear. Let's give thanks for this opportunity to be of service as well. So, we're here. Again, I have my two assistants. I have Ernesto back here resting. He'll be making an appearance any minute. And Melanie is here to monitor the chat box. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat box and she'll let me know that there's a question and I'll answer your questions. So last week I talked about wanting to do some digging into the CE edition. And so for those of you who don't have it, let me just explain what one of the big differences is in the CE edition. in addition to the removal of words that was done in the FIP edited version and the words that were put back in this version, there's also something called cameos. And these cameos were not put into the blue edition. They were edited out because they weren't instructional. When Helen Schucman was doing her channeling, she was taking what she said was dictation. It was specifically for the text and then followed by the workbook. So it was sequential. It started in 1965. She started writing the text, which is a very metaphysical series of instructions and suggestions on how we can rise above our ego mandates, or what we're calling now our subconscious. Then the textbook follows, which is the opportunity to put into practice what you learned in the textbook. So in the CE edition, they have something called cameos, and the reason the cameos aren't in the blue book is because Helen felt that these weren't lessons or text, but that these were personal conversations, and she didn't know if those personal conversations were meant for everyone. So when they got put back into print, they were put as cameos, and they're separate and apart from everything else in the book. So I wanted to share with you a cameo called My Strength Will Support You. And this was actually in October of 1965, very close to the beginning of the dictation. This is way in the beginning. And the reason I want to share this with you is because what I want to talk about today is who we are becoming, and who we will be as a result of this period of time, which I'm calling spiritual incubation. I'm saying this is a time of spiritual incubation because we have options and choices about how we're going to be and do what it is we're going to do and who we're going to be as a result of this time that we're isolated from one another. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to go within, because we can't go out, right? So we can go within. We can go within and dig deep into ourselves to find out what it is that we need to do. Where are the areas of life that we need to grow spiritually and emotionally? So in this particular cameo, it's called My Strength is With You. And this is a conversation, once again, between Jesus and Helen. So it's early on, and Helen is having a lot of doubts. She's having a lot of confusion about what's happening. Don't forget, what happened with Helen and Bill, they were colleagues in the psychology department at Columbia University. And things were really difficult. In terms of colleagues fighting, there was a lot of infighting, there was a lot of problems, and they were both talking about how can things be different. And Helen felt like she was losing her mind. She came to Bill and she confided that something was happening. She was having these dreams about things, books. There was a book that she dreamed about. There was a few other things, and then after the series of dreams came a series of dictations. She was told, "This is A Course in Miracles. Take notes." We found out later, and after much years of research, that there was a scribe in the time of Jesus called Urza. And Jesus calls Helen Urza on occasion during his conversations in these cameos. So we're assuming, based on, if you believe in reincarnation, that the reason he chose Helen as his scribe is because she already was his scribe at one time. So all that to say that in 1965, when this started, she started taking the dictation, but she was very doubtful. She was very leery. She was a little bit embarrassed even to tell Bill what was going on. She was very reluctant. She had a lot of distractions. She was always finding a way to be distracted so she wouldn't have to truly listen, and she wouldn't have to do the scribing. So he's telling her in this cameo, it's cameo number 2, it says, "My strength will support you." He's telling her that he can see that she's distracted, she's finding excuses not to do what he asked her to do. And one of the things he asked her to do, and I think all of us can do this, is to read the first 3 miracle principles every day. Read the first 3 miracle principles, which you'll find in chapter 1 of the Blue Book. It has 50 miracle principles. And he's saying, in order to get a sense of security with this material, in order to feel like it's the real thing, I want you to repeat the first 3 as a practice over and over and over again. Remember, the Course is continuously repeating itself and asking us to repeat ourselves. Why? So that we get out of our heads and the material becomes not just something that we can talk about or think about, but something that we actually start to incorporate as a way of being, as a way of life. So he's telling her, this is in 1965, when she first started her scribing, to just read the first 3 principles over and over again so that she can feel a little bit more secure about what's going on, and so she can start to trust his voice. To trust his voice. We've talked about trust a lot. And so she keeps finding all these distractions, and he keeps trying to bring her back. And she says that she's embarrassed. She's embarrassed by some of the feelings that she's having, some of the intense feelings and experiences that she's having as a result of doing this work, and so she's starting to resist it. It says she pulls away, musing to herself about whether Bill will find it fascinating or not. Jesus brings her back to the task at hand. He said, I just want you to reread the 3 principles. Don't feel, and then she starts feeling guilty because she feels like, well, maybe he's upset with me and I should have been reading them and I don't really want to read them. So he says, do not feel guilty about the fact that you're doubting me. Just reread them and the truth will come to you. The truth will come to you if you just continue to do what I've asked you to do. So she realizes that she's feeling guilty about doubting him, and yet she continues to doubt him, just like we all have our doubts, right? And so it says, this is a note from Robert, the editor of the CE edition. It says, here at the very beginning of the Course, we have a revealing glimpse of how Jesus, the teacher, relates to his student, Helen, she's his student, as we have seen, while she gets caught up in various diversions. And she's asking him, well, isn't the fact that you're talking to me a miracle? She's kind of taken by his presence. She's starting to feel like she's in the presence of a celebrity or something. And so she's saying that, isn't it just a miracle just that you're here? So she's having these very human reactions, and yet Jesus is holding fast to the single agenda, which is to get across his teaching. He is focused, but she is distracted. And what he tells her is the lessons deteriorate under lack of focus. And that's something for all of us to remember. The lessons deteriorate under lack of focus. The more we release our dedication during this time, we get scared, we get nervous, we get caught up in the news, we start worrying about friends and loved ones, or maybe we even have people who are ill, and we get so caught up and fearful of what's happening in the world that we start to neglect our spiritual practice. And when we neglect our spiritual practice, the lessons begin to deteriorate. What does that mean? They start to be released from our mind. They stop being our primary focus. And he's asking her and asking us to make it our primary focus. The more we make it our primary focus, the more we will see that we can move into a place of feeling more peaceful and centered regardless of what's going on around us. Is there a question?
I'm not seeing it here. It looks like there's one here.
Oh, it looks like there's a question, but we're not seeing it there, so I'm gonna have to get real close. Hi, you guys. Oh no, I think it's just telling us who's watching. So it says here, he even offers to make up for any lack she may be feeling. And he explains that he is free of lack and he wants to be able to provide her with a sense of security. Thus, no matter how inadequate she may feel, she can rest on his love and his strength and let go of her worries and leave the rest to him. Because what he says is, my strength will support you. So why is this an important cameo? Because whenever we're faced with any kind of chaos or difficulties or fears, and it seems so real and it seems so heartbreaking at times, we cannot neglect our spiritual practices. Because in the end, it's kind of like we're in the middle of a storm, and the opportunity that we have in the storm is to be like the raven. You know, when a raven is in a storm, its wings get stronger, it gets centered, it gets rooted. And we want to, at this time, to make sure we are centered and rooted in our spiritual practices. And so as we take care of ourselves, we take care of our physical bodies, we take care of whatever's going on in our fears and our mental bodies, but we have to make our spiritual practices a priority. Now, in the Course, it tells us twice, the only time a full request is made, twice, and that's in the introduction of the text, in the preface on IX. If you look at the Blue Book, there's a preface, and there's an IX to the preface. Then again, way in the back, in the introduction to the lessons. And this is what it says. It says this twice in the book. It says, some of the ideas presented you will find hard to believe, and others may seem quite startling. This does not matter. It doesn't matter if we find it hard to believe. What matters is that the truth exists. So we're merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do so. You're not asked to judge them. You're only asked to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. So it's just like anything else. You know, if somebody says that you can build muscle by doing 24 12-pound reps every day for 5 minutes over the course of time, you're going to get stronger. You might say, well, that doesn't sound very interesting to me, but if you put it to use, you find over time that you are getting stronger. If you're told that changing your diet is going to make a difference in your mood and in your gut, you might not want to believe it, but then you apply it, and after a while you realize, oh, it's really happening. I'm really starting to feel better physically and emotionally. Same thing with our spiritual practices. We put them to the test. It's always telling us to put us to the test. It says, remember only this. You need not believe these ideas. You need not accept them. You may not even want to welcome them. Some of them you may actively resist. You may find them startling, it said. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. The fact that they will work is true whether or not you believe it or not. It's like saying, like the law of gravity. If you jump off a bridge and then halfway down you say you don't believe in gravity, that doesn't mean you're going to stop falling, because the law exists. It's the same thing with the principles of spiritual practice. It says, do not allow yourself to make exceptions in implying the ideas of the workbook. Whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, just use them. Nothing more than that. This is required. And so here we are into the workbook. We're up to 105 or 106 lessons already. And so if we are dedicated to these lessons, and we continue to apply the lesson of the day the way it asks us to, we can find an escape, a release, a moment of peace even, a glimpse of heaven even, when we take a step away from the chaos in order to actually be in our spiritual practice. It doesn't even have to be A Course in Miracles if that's not your practice. If you're just listening for the first time, you're just interested in knowing, whatever your spiritual practice is, a dedicated practice will prove itself to be what it is that you need to be of service to others and to be of service to your own spirit, to be able to handle whatever it is that's going on in the chaotic world. And whatever it is that's going on will then be handled by you as a person of light, as a person who wants to bring the shift. Right? That's what this time of incubation is all about. Spiritual incubation. We are growing and moving into a new way of being. And whatever's going on in the chat box is apparently not showing up in Melanie's phone for some reason. So if you have a burning question, text me. Just send me a text, because I can't.
Chat. It's just someone else joined.
I can't read the chat that far. So feel free to text me if you want me to answer a question. So that's really what today is all about. It's about coming together as a spiritual family to make this dedication during a time of chaos. Because what I'm seeing a lot in social media is people continuously saying how crazy this is, how difficult this is, how Twilight Zone-ish this is, and all of that may be true, but we need to be the ones who maintain our center. We need to be the ones who maintain a hopeful, helpful voice, a voice of kindness, a voice of realization that when this is over, we're still here to be the helpers. We're still here to rise above whatever it is that is our current block to spiritual progression. Because we want to come out of our incubation finally realizing that there were things in the past that maybe we held on to, whether it was resentments or regrets or fears or self-loathing or anger, or whatever it was, is no longer necessary. It's being cleaned away, wiped away. It's an opportunity for us to begin anew. And so I want us to pray together today. And I've shared this prayer with you before. This is a prayer from the Way of Mastery. And wherever you are, I'm going to believe that you'll be repeating after me. Remember, this is a dedication to a new way of being. This is what we're doing now. We're finding a way to be renewed in our minds and in our spirit. Not just because we do our daily lessons, but because we have no other choice at this point in our lives. Even if there wasn't a coronavirus, even if there wasn't a pandemic, we have no choice. Once we know what we know, once we know that we're here to be the change agents, that we're here to bring the love and the light, then we can either deny it within ourselves or we can rise to the occasion. So what we are doing as a family, as a spiritual family, is we're rising to the occasion. That's what we're here to do. So I invite you all to take a moment, put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. And you're going to repeat after me. And I know somewhere in your homes I'll be able to know that you're repeating after me. This is from The Way of Mastery. It's an excellent book. I love it very much. And I recommend it. In this moment, I am going to discover what it means to teach only love. I accept my destiny to walk this earth awake, aware, and at peace, in mastery and not in fear. This day I commit myself to teaching only love, by sharing only loving thoughts. I will look upon every person that comes into my experience, and I will breathe in deeply the presence of the Holy Spirit. I will look through eyes transformed by the simple acknowledgement of this truth, that all minds are joined. So I do not see a stranger before me, but one who walks as I walk, who feels as I feel, who longs as I long, who is humbled as I am humbled, and who prays for peace as I have prayed. Therefore, I give what they seek, and in that giving, I will receive. So if you prayed that prayer, hopefully something within you moved to touch your heart and to realize how important you are. Remember last week I said you are an essential worker because you're doing God's work. You are essential to God's plan for salvation. So hopefully you can feel that and believe that of yourself. If not, do your best to suspend all doubt. Just suspend all doubt because you are needed. We need you. It's a very valiant and noble task to accept God's plan for you for salvation. Okay, so let's get into some lessons. Lesson 105 and 106 is just the past couple days. We're going to talk about those.
Selenia was saying it was buffering.
You're buffering on your end? I don't know what to do about that. We'll just keep going and hopefully when it archives, because you know when we're done, it automatically gets archived to the page and hopefully whatever parts you missed you can get to. And I don't know what else we can do about that. I think that what's happening is that a lot of internet connections are very weak because like the whole world is on the internet at the same time, and so we find it to be weak at times. So I hope it'll catch up, and we can see what happens once we archive it on the page, the Miracles with the Twist page. So 105, God's peace and joy are mine. Hang on a second. I think we should take a break just to look at Ernesto. Here we go. Okay. That was Ernesto. Commercial. Ernesto commercial. Okay, God's peace and joy are mine. In paragraph 3, I'm going to zip down to paragraph 3. If you're following me, we're in the Blue Book now. Foundation for Inner Peace edition. It says, a major learning goal of this course has been set to reverse your view of giving so you can receive. Is everybody scared because I just coughed and sneezed?
No, saying hi to Ernesto.
A major learning goal of this course has been set to reverse your view of giving so you can receive. For giving has become a source of fear, and so you would avoid the only means by which you receive. So it's just saying that a lot of times we are afraid that when we give of ourselves, that there's some fear involved because, you know, maybe we think we'll be taken advantage of, or people will think that we're weak in some way. I remember last year, Belinda who was saying that she was worried that if she got too spiritual, her friends would think she wasn't any fun anymore. And you know, that's a valid fear. People think, oh, you know, you're talking that mumbo jumbo, or you're all woo woo now. So the idea is to not allow that fear of what other people think to keep you from getting in touch with what you need to get in touch with for your own spiritual progress, and for overcoming those fears, for simply moving forward, just continue moving forward. So you think that in giving of yourself, a lot of times we think that in giving of ourselves we're going to be taken advantage of or whatever. But what the Course is telling us is that giving is the same as receiving. We give what we want to receive. When we look beyond what is the ego's mandates about what it is that we want. It says, accept God's peace and joy, and you will learn a different way of looking at gifts. God's gifts will never lessen when they are given away, but they increase. So the more we do our spiritual work, the more we live from a place of kindness and compassion and caring, the more we will be able to receive compassion, caring, kindness, and love, and an inner sense of peace, simply because we're living from our true self. As heaven's peace and joy intensify when you accept them as God's gift to you, so does your joy grow when you accept this peace as yours. True giving is creation. It extends the limitless to the unlimited, eternity to timelessness, and love onto itself. I'm going to go down to paragraph 5. Today, accept God's peace and joy as yours. Let Him complete Himself as He defines completion. So in other words, the completion of the sonship, the spiritual goals of God and angels and humanity and all the avatars, all that has come before us, is for us to live this life of peace and love and kindness and compassion, to be able to see with these eyes that see light, as opposed to seeing that which we previously judged. So to continuously look at taking responsibility for what we see, take responsibility for the energy we bring into an environment, into a circumstance, into other people's lives, to continuously look at these opportunities we have to rise higher and to focus on how we can bring love, light, compassion, and kindness into our environment. So the thing I really liked about this lesson is because it gives you this little thing. It says, think about those brothers who have been denied by you the peace and joy that are their right under the equal law of God. Here, you denied them to yourself. So when you're angry at somebody, holding a resentment against them, not forgiving them, what they're saying is that you're denying those things to yourself because you and your brother are reflections one to another. It says here you must return to claim these things as your own. Then it says, think of your enemies, puts it in quotes, and tell each one as they occur to you. Now you can do this right now, because usually when the Course tells you to do that, it says, well, you know someone's come to your mind. It's not as if you don't know who it is you may have held some resentments against or who you have not yet forgiven. So think about that person or persons one at a time. If you've got a lot, then you'll have to do this later. But think of one person. And imagine saying this to that person. My brother or sister, peace and joy I offer you, that I may give God's peace and joy. That I may receive God's peace and joy as mine. My brother, my sister, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. So we're offering it to receive it. We're receiving it and we're offering it. So thus you prepare yourself to recognize God's gifts to you and to let your mind be free of all that would prevent success today. What kind of success? Spiritual success. You might have other goals for your own personal success. You can have those things. You can focus on those things. This is specifically talking about succeeding on your spiritual path, to be able to look beyond your resentments and to offer that person peace. And to say, even if maybe you're not going to do it in person, maybe just in your mind, in your imagination, in your prayers tonight, that you're offering that peace and joy of God, and that in doing so, you receive it. Because we have blocks. We have blocks. And this is the way we break through those blocks. We break through the blocks by acts of love, by acts of forgiveness. We have so many opportunities to do that. Even if it's just in a moment, just a coworker who's aggravating you. You know, to remember that this is a prompt. This is a reminder that you can offer them peace and love and joy. And in doing that, you receive peace and love and joy. Questions? Checking my texts? No? No questions? So then we went on to today's lesson. And this one is so important because it says, let me be still and listen to the truth. And the first thing it says, lay aside the ego's voice, however loudly it may seem to call. That's a tall order for most of us because we are continuously hearing the voice of the ego. And as we said earlier in this year, it's the voice of the subconscious training, the voice of the negative messages perhaps that you were given as a child or as you've developed judgments. And those judgments are constantly ringing through your mind, whether it's judgments against yourself, judgments against other people. Maybe it's an automatic reaction you have to certain types of people. I had someone in my office today who was complaining about someone, and she was telling me how much she didn't like this person. And I don't dislike that person, but she was telling me why she didn't like her. And it seemed to me that what she was saying is that there was something familiar. It didn't seem like she had a really good, valid reason for disliking her, other than the fact that there was something that reminded her of something that just triggered her. It was just something that aggravated her. So what aggravates one person may not aggravate another person. So once we start seeing what's aggravating to us, then we can start working on what it is we need to do within ourselves to let it go, to let it be. Here's a question from Rusty. I feel like I interrupted myself in the middle of the sentence, but I got so excited. Okay, Rusty. Rusty love. I have a question. It's so funny because I was telling Melanie, he said, I have only ever seen you in white. Why are you not in white tonight? So the funny thing is, I told you, I said, I never wear anything other than white when I teach. And I remember one time, what was her name? Madhu. Everybody remember Madhu? She used to come in every week, but she moved to Maryland. And there was another day I wasn't wearing white, and she was like, oh, I don't know if I can stay. So, Rusty, the truth of the matter is that I'm just wearing what I wore to work. I came home a little late, and had enough time to grab a bite to eat, and then take care of Ernesto. Melanie came by, and so it's nothing profound. There's no spiritual message. I just didn't change. So, thank you for noticing. But yeah, I'm not wearing white today. I do wear other things. So anyway, I love you. So let me be still and listen to the truth. Laying aside the voice of the ego. So yeah, the ego speaks loudest. The ego speaks first. The ego speaks relentlessly. It's like, did you ever have somebody who just talk too much, like somebody you cared about, but they just went on and on and on. Oh, hey, is Tanzu on? Is Tanzu on? I hope so, because
Yeah,
I get to pick on Tanzua. Oh, good. All right, nothing's changed, Tanzua. The other day, Tanzua was telling me about a movie that she was recommending, and I said, "Oh, what's it about?" Now here, this is what the movie's about. Okay, the movie's about a couple who are not getting along. Period. No. But Tanzua told me like 10 minutes of the movie. 10 minutes. And I was like, all right, my eyes were glazing over, and I was like, all right, okay, I know the movie, I know a lot of details now, and it was just a lot of information. It was just a lot of information. I love you, Tanzua, I love you. So, but sometimes when you think about it, the ego's sort of like that. It's giving us a lot of information, and it's telling us over and over and over and over all kinds of stuff. And it could be because, we're upset about, the more upset we are, the more we allow the ego to take its place in our mind, the more blah, blah, blah we hear. And the trick, the discipline, it's not even a trick, it's a discipline to truly work on quieting the voice. To tell the ego, my eyes are glazing over, it's too much, I want peace. I want peace. It was a good story, Tanzua. I didn't even have to watch the movie. So it says, if you will lay aside the ego's voice, however loudly it may seem to call, if you will not accept its petty gifts. What are the petty gifts of the ego? The petty gifts is like, oh, I think I'm right, and oh, I told her, and just feeling like you got somewhere because you told somebody off, and that's a petty gift, and it only lasts a moment. It's not a significant gift. The significant gift is to be able to move away from the ego, move into a place of peace, and know that you feel centered, loving, and kind toward a brother or sister. And that you don't have to react from the place of the ego. You can respond from a place of love. Two totally different things. Question?
No.
Oh.
Just listen.
So it says, listen and hear. Oh, I'll finish this in. It says, okay, paragraph 2. Listen and hear your spirit speak to you through an appointed voice. Who's the appointed voice? Is the higher holy self, the Holy Spirit within us. It silences the thunder of the meaningless and shows the way to peace to those who cannot see. Be still. Listen to the truth. Be not deceived by voices of the dead, which tell you they have found the source of life and offer it to you. Now, we're not talking about talking to our deceased loved ones. It's talking about just like dry bones in the Christian community, in the Christian tradition, right? That uselessness of the ego, that place that keeps us trapped. It's a dead zone. It's a dead zone. And our task is to realize that. I think we're all doing that now, especially now, and it's needed now. Question.
This is from Libby.
Libby, I love you, Libby.
She wants to know, does ego have an opposite?
Does ego have an opposite? Grasshopper. The funny thing is that the ego is a construct, right? It's a construct of our personalities, and it comes from a place of physical attachment. We come into these bodies. Our bodies have a life. The life has a force. The force has a personality. The personality has an ego, right? And And a part of it is needed. A part of it is needed so we can have discernment, so that we can move through our lives with our personality. It's not like we're trying to go into a complete flat zone and not have personality. So I think that as long as we're in our bodies, we will have the ego. I think the opposite of the ego is the non-dual function of our higher self. So the opposite of ego would be non-duality, right? To understand the atonement is the opposite of the ego, the true understanding of unity. And you know, there are masters who've walked this earth, and there's probably masters who are walking this earth right now who are egoless, who don't function from that voice, and they function truly and thoroughly from a place of unity, at one-ment, the atonement, to achieve that level. There's a book written by Gary Renard, the same guy who wrote The Disappearance of the Universe, called When Jesus and Buddha Knew Each Other. Maybe that's the title. I said Jesus and Buddha are in the title. And it talks about how they had repetitious lifetimes together, including the time of the Buddha, when he was himself moving toward enlightenment, but other times when they were working with other teachers. And each lifetime, they were working on overcoming dualistic thinking, until each one of them even moved into each other's personality lifetime. You know, the lifetime of Buddha, and Jesus was there, the lifetime of Jesus and Buddha was there, with different personalities, different names, and that they finally were able to achieve this mastery of self, where they were completely non-dualistic because they had achieved the atonement consciousness. Does that answer your question, Grasshopper?
She says, wow, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Okay. So we're still on lesson 106. And it says, be not afraid today to circumvent the voices of the world. We have a lot of scary voices right now. I'm not saying it's not real. The coronavirus is happening. But you've heard a lot of people say that fear is a more vicious virus than anything that exists in our bodies. So be not afraid today to circumvent the voices of the world. Walk lightly past their meaningless persuasion. Hear them not. Be still today and listen to the truth. Go past all things which do not speak of him who holds your happiness within his hand, held out to you in welcome and in love. Hear only him today, and do not wait to reach him. Hear one voice. Today the promise of God's word is kept. Hear and be silent, so he will speak to you. He comes with miracles 1,000 times as happy and as wonderful as those you ever dreamed or wished for in your dreams. His miracles are true. They will not fade when dreaming ends. So what that means is that in this world of dreaming, in this time of dreaming, there is never going to be a loss of spirit. There's never going to be a time when you're not connected to spirit. It's just a matter of how connected you feel to spirit, even when you're not in this body. Well, not this body, your body. But even when you're not in the body, you will still be connected to spirit. You were before, you are now. So it says, paragraph 5, hear him today and listen to the word which lifts the veil that lies upon the earth. The veil that lies upon the earth, right? This is the veil of all the unconsciousness, all the dictates and the fears and the judgments and the divisiveness. It's just a veil. It's a veil that lies upon the earth. Don't you wish you could just lift it up? Imagine we could just lift it up and see the light, see the truth. That's what we're going to work on. That's our visual, right? Let's see. I lost my place. It says, oh, here we go. Let's start again. Hear him today and listen to the word which lifts the veil that lies upon the earth and wakes all those who sleep. God calls to them through you, through me. calling out to those who sleep, to wake them up, to lift them above the veil of unconsciousness so that God can reach them through us. That's the task. That's the task of salvation that we are choosing to fulfill the plan of salvation that God has for us. Each hour, it says, to take a moment to be still and listen to the truth. Your request is one whose answer has been waiting long to be received by you. It will begin the ministry for which you came, and which will free the world from thinking that giving is a way to lose. And so the world becomes ready to understand and to receive. Be still and listen to the truth. Today, the holy word of God is kept through you, through your receiving of it, for you to give it away. So you can teach the world what giving means by listening and learning of God. Do not forget today to reinforce your choice to hear and to receive the word by this reminder. Let me be still and listen to the truth. I am a messenger of God. My voice is his to give as I receive. That's amazing. That's beautiful. And I can see how this is what all of us are longing for, longing to do, and longing to accomplish, to fulfill that plan of salvation through us. And so the reason it's so important to talk about it now is because we're in a time when our faith might get shaken up a little bit. The ground beneath us might feel like it's not so steady. And the steadiness can be found in our spiritual practices. Our steadiness can be found in coming back to our lessons. Question? No questions? No questions? Anybody? Okay. So, let's do one more. Let's see, ended 106. Let's do 107, and then we'll wrap it up if you don't have any more questions. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. So the errors in our mind are those which are the ego's dictates, right? So the truth, when we listen for the truth, when we listen to the truth, we find that there's an opportunity for correction. So in paragraph 3, it says, without illusion, there could be no fear, no doubt, and no attack. When truth has come, all pain is over, for there is no room for transitory thoughts and dead ideas to linger in your mind. It's truly doing this work so that we become more willing to be in the world as it is without feeling so disrupted by it. Paragraph 4. When truth has come, it does not stay a while to disappear or change. It does not shift and alter in its form nor come and go. It stays exactly as it always was. It's just about whether or not we hear it and get it. Nothing has changed in terms of truth. The truth is truth. When truth has come, it harbors in its wings the gift of perfect constancy and love, which does not falter in the face of pain, but looks beyond it steadily and sure. Here is a gift of healing, for the truth needs no defense, and therefore no attack is possible. This is tomorrow's lesson, by the way. You'll be getting this one. Truth will correct all errors in my mind, and I will rest in him who is myself. Let God lead you gently to the truth, which will envelop you and give you peace so deep and tranquil that you will return to the familiar world reluctantly. So you can be so tranquil that you don't necessarily feel the need to interact with the world as you may have in the past. You'll start noticing changes within yourself and changes with how you see the world and how you interact with the world. That's tomorrow's lesson. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up if there's no questions. Let me give you a minute. Dun, 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 dun.
There's a little delay, so.
So if you want to queue up for the end song, I'm going to tell you what it is, and if you have your devices close by, go to YouTube. It's called Symphony, and it's by Dylan Chase and Switch. Dylan Chase and Switch. And the song is called Symphony. I was going to hold the words up for you, but as we found out before, we're still in reverse mirror. So I'm just going to show you Ernesto instead. Okay, listen to the words. I think you're going to like these very much. It's called Switch by Dylan Chase, and it's called Symphony by Dylan Chase and Switch.
Sometimes it's hard to breathe. All these thoughts that shout at me, try to bring me to my knees, and it's overwhelming. Darkness echoes all around. Feels like everything is crashing down. Still I know my hope is found, and it's only you and ooh. You say you're working everything for my good, and ooh, I believe every word. 'Cause even in the madness, there's peace, drowning out the voices all around me. Through all of this chaos, you are writing a symphony, a symphony. Even in the madness, there's peace, drowning out the voices all around me. Through all of this chaos, you are writing a symphony. Symphony, oh, to my heart, to your beat, let me be your melody, even when I cannot see. But you're orchestrated, even when the dark surrounds. You'll never let me drown. I know that my hope is found in the name of Jesus. Ooh, you say you're working everything for my good, and ooh, I believe every word. 'Cause even in the madness, there's peace, drowning out the voices all around me. Through
I can see myself in here.
you are writing a symphony, a symphony. And even in the madness, there's peace, drowning out the voices all around me. Through all of this chaos, you are writing a symphony, a symphony. Yeah, I wanna truly know if you compose beautiful music, though. From all my unruly notes, the distance is dissonance, moving closer. I see, erase the scales from my eyes, then play the scale of my life. Chaos played off with a chord and a chord with a source, preventing through strife. And I've tasted suffering, I've been embraced by the painful buffering. I've been bound by doubt so loud right now, but a melody is made when you play these rusty keys. So we all gotta get pressed, tuned up like instruments. But I know all of life's tempo is set whenever we remember this. In the madness, there's peace, drowning out the voices all around me. Through all of this chaos, we're writing a symphony, a symphony. And even in the madness, there's peace, drowning out the voices all around me. Through all of this chaos, you are writing a symphony, a symphony. Oh, a symphony. A symphony.
So this is our end prayer for this evening. Blessed are you who teach with me. Our power comes not of us, but of our Father. In guiltlessness we know him, as he knows us guiltless. We stand within the circle, calling each other to peace. Teach peace with me, and stand with me on holy ground. Amen to that. Thank you, everybody. I love you. See you again next week.